Okay, so in this video, I'm just going to go through how you can use Node Noggin to undertake a research activity, a design thinking workshop, something where you and your team are trying to come up with new ideas or think through a problem, and how Node Noggin can help do that as a tool that sort of extends the teamwork that you do in the studios and in design education spaces. So the way that we want you to think about that as well is this idea of collect, organize and pursue. So thanks to Brian Mathers from Visual Thinkery for this great visual illustration of that. Sort of, I guess we call it a framework. But we're going to talk today particularly about how you go through the collect and organize phases of understanding something you're trying to co-create together. And then later on, we'll talk specifically about the pursue part of that, which is kind of where you deep dive and really is kind of outside of the tools. You take this information and use it elsewhere. But of course, you can bring the two together, particularly if you're using Node Noggin on a mobile device and you're maybe in the library. You can then refer to your collection and your organization phases whilst deep diving and even bringing some of that straight into Node Noggin for the team to review later. So here we go. We're going to talk a bit about Node Noggin, how it works. Hopefully all the bits will work as expected. It is obviously an alpha build. There are a few little bugs that we may hit. I'll try and ride over those and talk about any that may get in the way of you actually using the tool. But so far, even though it's an alpha build, there isn't anything that's really show-stopping in that sense. So if you want to have a play with this, you can. You can just visit alpha.nodenog.in and that will take you to the latest alpha version. That's currently the main place for you to try this thing out. If I click on the About tab, just so you know, this is version 0.1.31, so definitely very much in an alpha, updating all the time with real sort of feedback from students that we're working with to use this tool to help them to think through the design projects. So let's jump on and have a look. So we've got the two phases that we can be in. We've got two modes. We've got the collect and organize mode. So what you'll notice is the collect looks much like a list, and the organize is the spatial arrangement where we can start to organize our nodes. That's these objects you see here around maybe different clusters, or start to make connections and all kinds of different things. And the organize mode is pretty basic at this point. We can do a few things, but it's certainly going to get a lot more attention soon. What we mainly find is that what we want to be in initially is this collect mode. So this idea of getting everything that we want together. And the collect mode also is really useful if you're on a small screen or a mobile. And certainly students often, when they're responding to a workshop or an activity, a lot of the time they will be using their mobile phones, particularly if it's quite a rapid activity. And then later on, maybe they move to their laptops and they can go into the organize mode. So I'd recommend that when you start a workshop around a particular theme, that you obviously will arrive in the collect mode by default, and that's probably where most of the students will start their initial phase. What you can do is, if you're working in like a team, a group of students, potentially a group of designers, what I've also been doing is I've been setting up on the big screen on the projector the organized view of the same microcosm, which we'll come to in a second, so that you can see in real time the nodes being created by everyone in that group and being arranged on screen, so that you can kind of work the two together. But the collection mode also is quite good for focus because you don't see anyone else's nodes. In the other organize mode and even in the cards view, you see everyone else's nodes being edited and appearing in real time, which is great later on. It's great if everyone has big screens as well, but sometimes it's a little bit distracting. So we found that the collect mode is a really good start point, and especially as a lot of people seem to start at least their thinking around a topic on a mobile device, even in the studios. And so this is just to make it as easy as possible for everyone to contribute. So in the first box, we're going to give ourselves a name. This is what connects our device to the nodes that we can edit. So it's never shared, it's completely anonymous. It will show us our name, but it won't show anyone else our name. And so whatever contributions we make are not visible in terms of who or which device made them. So I'm going to type in a name and I can hit store or press return, and that will save it and it will jump to the next input field. You can do this on the organize mode as well. It's exactly the same. and it will allow you to quickly, I mean, you can, if you using keyboard shortcuts, you can start a microcosm with your device in seconds. And again, that's something that's really useful if you've got to get a whole group of you into a space. You literally need to go to this URL and type in 2 pieces of information. Keep that information at the moment lowercase, no spaces and no numbers. That can cause some issues, and that's something that we just need to basically iron out on the code side so that it doesn't affect anyone, so they could type in whatever they want, but the code will handle it. But for now, keep those things lowercase, no spaces and no numbers. So I'm going to join a microcosm. I'm going to join one called Loom, just because that's the thing I'm using to record this, and it will let me create a brand new microcosm. Okay, once I'm in a microcosm, I get shown some slightly different pieces of information. Obviously, it's no longer asking me to set those things up because they're already set. And in the collect screen, we're in what's called magpie mode, where we can gather all of our things together. If I jump to the organize, again, you can see there's nothing here, but we've got a slightly different thing telling us the shortcuts that we can use to start to organize our thoughts. And of course, we've got a card view, which will also be empty. And then we've got a discarded view, which will show any discarded nodes that we have. There is actually one already discarded in every default microcosm, and that just helps with a little issue when we're switching around if we're using multiple microcosms. Because at this point, I could actually start to create and connect multiple microcosms and actually move between them without changing my device name, which is really nice. But for now, we're just going to focus on the one microcosm that we're in. And if we come to organize, you'll see down the bottom here, actually it tells me, and only me, my device name and the microcosm that I'm currently connected to. Okay, so under the collect mode, I can start to add in new nodes. So what we're going to do for now is I'm going to hide this because I know all about how to do that. I know about Markdown. We're going to think about if we're working as a team and we're coming up with a brand new character for our a game. So say we want to create a magpie character for our game. So that might be the challenge for the team to start to think about what is, we're going to create a character for our game that's a magpie. What do we associate with that? What are the kind of things that we might want to add? And to start to think about so that we can organize our research and our thinking around the concept of creating a magpie character. So I can hit the plus button here and I can just start to type in things that maybe I think about magpies. So I can say they like shiny things. What I can also do is I can use Markdown in all of these. So if I do a couple of asterisks around shiny, then that will now be bold. So if I hit read mode, you can see that it's been formatted in that way. Let's create another thing. Okay, I can press the N key to create a new node and jump straight into that, so I can get really quick. There is some focusing work to be done, so it focuses faster into the text box so that you can hit N and then just start typing. But at the moment, that focus is not in the code base. I can also put in like headers. So let's just say I want to create a list of behaviors for my magpie character behaviors, and I might be like squawks, what is it, jump, pecks, steals things. Okay, let's just fix that. Probably doesn't know what squawks are. And then I'll hit that. You can see now this thing's listed here. If I want to add images from the web, it's really, really easy. So what I can do is if I do a like search for magpies, say in DuckDuckGo, and actually I've just seen this Wikipedia article here, so I'm just going to take that text, copy that, jump back to my node and put that into here, and I'm going to make that a quote, and I'm just going to remind myself this is Wikipedia. And in fact, if I do that, okay, so that's now there. Let's go back here. So what I can do is I can go to like my image search and I can actually just pick these. So if I right click on one of these, I can actually say view image. And so that will let me then get that to the URL of the image. So I've got some already saved here. So I'm just going to grab these and show you that I can copy that link, which is obviously to this image. I can click the add button here, and what I can do is, because it's an image for Markdown, I need to do an exclamation mark, 2 square brackets, which would contain the alt text, and then 2 parentheses, I think they're called, those rounded brackets for the image. So if I hit read mode, you can see now that image has been embedded. Yeah, so I can change the alt text to be magpie eating a bug, close up photo. There we go. Okay, let's add a couple more images because I've got some. So here's another one. Copy that. New node. You can see that I'm going to leave that because these are quite big. You see, when it's on the list mode, because it expands to the width of your device, they can be quite big images. So for now, I'm just going to leave that on edit mode. I'm going to do one more image. These two guys here looking either getting a bit upset with each other. And then again, once you know Markdown, it's pretty quick, as you can see, to start pulling in these things, which is great. So what you can see now is I've started collecting a bunch of things, and I can do that pretty quickly for my character design. If I hit organize, you'll see that that read mode is carried over. So I can actually organize these. And if I was working with my team, which I should be, because that's the best way to come up with these kind of cool ideas, is that I would see all of their nodes here as well. So at the moment I'm just in the standard select mode. So I'm sorry, I'm in this organize mode using the select toolbar. So I'm just going to sort these things out a little bit, put them where I want them to be. Now what you'll see here is a couple of other things, is that if I jump back to collect, you'll notice this little helpful hint appears at the top. That's just because it's not persistent in terms of like the memory of it being there. So if I jump back to organize, you'll see it's the same for the shortcuts node and this collect magpie mode kind of tooltip. They just stay there even if you hide them. But of course, if you stay in this view, then they will just stay hidden until you come back. Okay, so what I could then do is start to organize my images into a little place. If I wanted to add another thing, I could hit the plus on here, or I could hit the N key on the keyboard. Okay, so let's just see, I've got that Wikipedia article. They've obviously got, I can now see they have white beaks. They look like they might be aggressive. So I can start to respond maybe even to other people's nodes in this view. I can also jump to the move view, so I can actually press the M key on the keyboard, and this will allow me to use my scroll bar to actually scroll out, so I can start to see more things that are going on. I can actually move around and start to kind of organize these even bigger. Now in this mode at the moment, there is a few things that are a little bit glitchy, but that doesn't really matter. It's not a big deal at this point. So I'm just going to tweak some of these a little bit. And then if I hit the this zoom thing, it will take me back to 100%. Again, I can just move and I can stay zoomed in if I want to. Okay, so these these aren't in read mode, as you can see, but I can't edit while I'm moving around, obviously. Okay. So if, for example, I thought this was a useless piece of information now, and I didn't want it to clutter up my organization mode, I could actually discard it. So I can press discard here. I can do that the same in the collect mode, and I can also do it the same in the cards mode. Now the cards mode and the organize mode, remember, will show everyone's nodes, but you can only discard your own. So here what I'm going to do is let me just discard that. It will ask me if I really want to do that. I say yes, and then that node has now been discarded, and I can actually go to the discarded pile and I can just see any nodes that I have discarded, so I won't see anyone else's. So remember, the collect view is only your nodes. Organize and cards show everyone's work, because obviously when you're organizing you want to be working on everyone, but when you're collecting and thinking, sometimes you really want to be focused. But of course you can sit in organize mode and add things while you want, if you want to. And if you are in organize mode and everyone's adding, you'll see those things being added in real time, and so they will appear on this canvas for you to organize. And maybe again, we've seen this where some people start to want to organize things while others are continuing to collect, and so you can get the teams working and moving between those different modes of operation of collecting, organizing, and even some might be going off to pursue, and they could be staying connected to the same microcosm, but they could be in the library gathering additional materials straight into this shared platform. Okay, so the other thing you can do is you can actually upload your own images if you want. And so the way this is done is you can upload them by clicking this upload cloud, and then you can get the image that you've just uploaded with this download, and that will create the right markdown for you to put into a node. You can also do that on the collect view. What you'll see though is that those buttons are not nice looking icons at this point. All these ones that have got their kind of rounded looking, red for danger, blue for do something, they will all become icons at some point. But again, we just need to make sure that it's clearly understood what these icons are, and so there'll be a lot more of this kind of hints and tips to help you to move through that. So once you've got your head around it, you won't be wondering why the move icon looks like this crosshair thing, yeah? Or why the select icon looks like this little arrow. You'll just understand what those things mean. Okay, so let's try and upload an image. So I'm going to click upload, and I'm going to select an image that I've already got on my computer, click open. And then what's happening then in the background is that's uploading to IPFS. So that means that it's a distributed file system. So the other thing to remember with this is that in Node Noggin, all of the nodes you're creating are a distributed file system. It's being stored locally on your machine, and then it's synchronizing to everyone else in your team through a CouchDB database system. Now that at the moment for this version sits on a server in the United Kingdom, but there's no reason that that CouchDB instance couldn't be just on one of the computers in the room or on your own server if you wanted it to be. So it's completely private in a sense that it's all stored on your devices. There's just a CouchDB instance that manages the synchronization. Okay, so once that's uploaded though to IPFS, which is where the images go, which is a different distributed file system, I can then create a new node, and I can actually hit get upload, or the little download cloud, and that will then get the markdown for that image, and it will paste it into this URL here. So let me just make sure I've got that right. Oops. Upload, select the image, get upload, paste, and there we go. Okay, so for some reason that first time it didn't work, so I just reloaded the page, and it's allowing me now to get that. And if I hit read mode, you'll see that that image that I just put on there is there. So let's do the same under organize. So let's go and move these over here a little bit, and then we'll finish up with doing a little bit of organization. So I'm going to click the up cloud. I'm going to pick another image. I'm going to click open. I'm going to then click for a new node, click the down to get the image, and then I'm going to paste, and you'll now see that I've got my second image here. Neither of these have got anything to do with magpies, but obviously if you want to add URLs, those kind of things, they work as well. The same thing as Markdown. You can read about how to do Markdown on the collect. There's a little link to here to a load of stuff around Markdown. If you want to actually embed like YouTube and those kind of things, you can. You just need to use the embed code, and you can actually put HTML into the nodes as well. So if you wanted to create a little bit more bespoke, feel free. And obviously, you know, if you jump onto another device, you can connect to the same microcosm from as many devices as you want. So if you wanted to now go to the library with your phone and connect to this same microcosm to collect more material, then you can just do that, And of course you can use the functions like the upload to add images from your camera. Just bear in mind that you need to get that upload before you do the next one. They aren't stored. It's a one-shot process at this point. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to show you in regards to sort of all the features of this current version of Node Noggin is the connections mode. So I can click on the connections icon, which looks like these two sort of circles joining, or I can press the C key on the keyboard, and then what I will get is a number of these little icons that will allow me to make connections between these two, or as many objects as I want. So you see when I'm in connect, when I've selected the connect tool, I can now connect nodes. So I can actually drag out from these, and then if I drop it onto another node, it will connect the two. So let's, for example, say that I want to connect these images together because they're important to be connected for whatever reason. So not only do I want to cluster them, but I also want to connect them. I can do that by just dragging out, making those connections. So those objects are now connected. There we go. Let's do another one. So let's just say this. We obviously think that he eats sort of bugs. So let's actually create a new node and say food sources. And maybe I'm going to come back here later to add the actual sources, not bigs, bugs, ants. And let's get that in read mode, so I just make this thing a little bit smaller. And what I'm going to do is go to connect mode, and I'm going to connect this one to this one. Oops, missed it. Let's get that. Connect from there to there. And now that I've got those food sources are also connected to the image, again, I can zoom out to maybe get a bit of a better picture of this. Okay, so that gives you a bit of an idea. Obviously this starts to get really busy when you've got lots and lots of people contributing, and then the idea as well is that you'll be able to compress these nodes into icons so that you can sort of have clusters of various things. And remember, you know, if you leave this microcosm, so say I hit leave, it will take me out, and now I can obviously rename myself, and then I can go back into that microcosm. There you go.